just got out of the cinemas from witnessing The Gray Man on the big screen, and I have some things I want to say about it, so make sure you stick around for the review up until my ratings. You can know how I felt about this movie. I'll see you on the other side of the review, guys. Let's go. What's going on, you guys? The Demigod back on Demigod ENT, and today I'm bringing you another movie review for The Gray Man. Now, this movie comes out of Netflix, and before it goes up on Netflix, which should be this Friday, they decided to put this movie in theaters for about a week, I want to say, before it goes ahead and drops on their platform. And yeah, I decided to go and see this at the cinemas instead of waiting. Typically, I would have waited and just watched it at home like everyone else, but you know what? I wanted to go out and see a movie, so I chose The Gray Man since I've reviewed and covered pretty much almost everything else that's out right now. And I gotta tell you guys, I had a hell of a good time at the cinemas watching this film. Now, I also had the entire theater room to myself, so I got to fully enjoy this, you know, as loud as I wanted to. And let me tell you, this movie had me hysterical at times. Now, going into this film, you know, I did go ahead and peep the ratings real quick and see, you know, the audience and the critics are very opposites when it comes to this film. And to be honest with you, I agree with the audience. I think the audience got this one right. Typically, I lean more towards the critic side, being as I am a critic, but the audience got this one right, guys. They did. I don't know what the critics were missing with this one. This was a very enjoyable theatrical experience. I loved seeing this on the big screen, and so let's just go ahead and discuss this film, guys. So the whole premise of this movie is it stars Ryan Gosling as Six, a CIA agent who pretty much was in a bad situation in prison. The CIA goes to him, makes him an offer to work for them, and he becomes an agent of theirs, and he becomes one of their top agents, and that's very important. And then also the co-star of this film, or they're kind of going hand in hand here, is Chris Evans playing Lloyd Hansen. Man, this is one of my favorite Chris Evans roles up to date, and I am a huge Captain America fan. So that being said, Ryan Gosling's character Six, so I'm just going to call Six and refer to as Six for the remainder of this review, ends up being put onto a mission for like a third-party agency, I want to say, and they have him do a job where he has to kill one of his own. Now, where the whole plot of this film comes in is this agent that he kills happens to give him some information that Six does not want to give over to the agency that he was hired to work for this job. So they put out a hit on him, they begin hunting him, and eventually hire one of their top agents, that being Chris Evans' character Lloyd. And that's where this film ends up, man. And so we just get this whole thing of Ryan Gosling's character being put into these crazy positions where it's like, how does someone make it out of this situation? And they always just find a way to get him out of these situations, and they do it in the craziest ways possible. This is a hell of an action film, a hell of a thriller, and I love just seeing him MacGyver his way out of situations, man. It was super enjoyable. Both of our leads here have a ton of charisma. The acting in this movie is pretty solid, man, I will say, and the dialogue in this movie, it's not the greatest thing I've ever seen, but they have a lot of clever callbacks throughout the film, which I really enjoyed. And of course, how could I forget to mention, this movie is directed by the Russo bros. Now, of course, most people know the Russo bros for what they've done in the MCU, which I am a huge MCU fan, I must admit, but more specifically what they did with the Avengers films, Infinity War and Endgame, and Civil War also, Captain America Civil War. And you could really tell it's them directing this film when you watch it. It has their style and their flair all over this film. Very well directed, I must say. My only complaint with the direction being that some of the action scenes become a little jumbled, a few, you know, jump cuts than needed. But I will say they did have their moments in their action scenes where it wasn't as jump cutty, we'll say. And they had some clever fight choreography inside of here. Now, was it to the John Wick level? No, it was not. I still hold that in higher regards than this film by far. However, it was really enjoyable to see. It got that thrill going, and honestly, quite honestly, I was hysterical throughout a majority of this film. I'd say the first and especially the second act inside of this movie. And man, they just do some of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in an action movie inside of here, man. And to touch more on the directing style of the Russo bros, they use their typical location panning, where we've seen that in Endgame, right, where they're in this location and they're in this location and it pops it over the screen. We get a lot of that inside of this film, lots of location changing, which I did enjoy. Some fun characters, man, some really charismatic acting out of more specifically Chris Evans. He was my favorite part of this movie, man. They just really let him just go off the rails with this role, and it's so funny seeing him take a role like this after playing Captain America and being known for Captain America for so many years. You know, a goody two-shoes character. So to see him be the bad guy inside of here was fantastic. I had a hell of a fun time watching this in the cinemas, man. I really did. And I gotta tell you, this is definitely one of the most fun action movies I've seen this year. Now, Top Gun still beats it out for this year, I'll say that. However, overall, man, I liked a lot of what they did inside of this film, and that doesn't mean that I didn't have my problems with this film, because this is a movie review, and as I said before, I am a movie critic, so we're gonna go ahead and get into the negatives that I had about this film. Now, I mentioned one earlier. I touched on it just a little bit, of the fight choreography and how jump cutty some of the scenes were. However, it wasn't too bad as some films get. You're still able to follow what's going on for the most part, and they did this one action scene, two action scenes inside of this movie, one involving a plane and two involving Ryan Gosling being at a bench. I'll just say that. And I was so mind blown watching these scenes and just so hysterical, as I said before. However, this film seems to peak in the second act, which was unexpected, honestly, because by the time the second act is over, I honestly thought it was the end of the movie. That's how big and bombastic they went with their whole action scene during that portion of the film. Like right at the end of the second act there, I thought, okay, we're about to go home, we're about to walk out of this movie, and there was still like 40 minutes left inside of here, and I was like, whoa, how are we only halfway through this film? And so for the remainder of the third act, nothing topped what they did with the second act. The third act wasn't bad or anything per se. I did like, you know, a lot of the things that they did in the third act. However, it just was not that big payoff that we got in the second act. So the third act felt lackluster compared to it. And I felt like they should have maybe swapped some of those scenes around a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because it was so over the top and ridiculous, which was another gripe I had with the movie, by the way, how over the top and ridiculous this movie gets during certain action scenes, how unbelievable this gets, because this movie does want to be based in reality. You really get that from the movie when you're watching it. However, some of the things happening inside of here, you just have to suspend your level of disbelief, and you're like, okay, I get it, we're watching an action movie, but they just do a bit too much at times. Now, to be honest, some of it I had a lot of fun with, and then in other times I was like, you know, it was all right. And then another gripe that I had with this movie is, leading off of that point, the runtime of this film. It felt like it could have been cut down, I don't know, 20 to 30 minutes, quite honestly, and the movie definitely overstays its welcome by the time we get to that third act. However, I did like the payoff in the third act. I did like some of the things they did, even though it didn't pass up the second act. But man, Netflix really hit it out of the park with this one. I could see why they wanted to put this one at the movie theater. If you can, definitely go check this out at the cinemas. I think it's worth it to watch it there and get that full experience. I don't think you'll get the same thrill that I had of this film watching it at home, though you should still be able to enjoy it. And honestly, I was a little worried walking into this movie, and I came out super thrilled, super ecstatic, super happy with what I got to witness. I'm glad I went to go see this film. I really am. And with that being said, guys, as you could tell, I had a great time with this film. A few problems here and there, but let's just go ahead and drop the review for you guys. So I give The Gray Man a 8 out of 10. It gets the 8 out of 10. I was kind of jumbled on the rating there as I was watching it, and by the time I got to the end, I was like, okay, it settled at a good score there. And yeah, man, definitely go out and see this one if you can. See this at the cinemas, man. Support this movie at the box office. It deserves it. A lot of fun inside of this movie, charismatic energy, off the walls, just bonkers, absolutely ridiculous action scenes. And man, I would love to touch on it a little more, but I'm not going to. I'll just say, man, Six is an absolute savage. There's absolutely no way one human being could do the things that he does inside of this movie. It's ridiculous. Like I said, he does more than John Wick. He goes further than John Wick with his ability, and that's just too far in my opinion. But with that being said, guys, those are my thoughts on this film. Let me know your thoughts on The Gray Man down in the comment section down below. I'm curious to know how you felt about this film. I'm sure a majority of you will be watching this on Netflix once it drops, and then probably coming to check out this video, or maybe watching this video before you go ahead and check it out on Netflix. And yeah, man, this is definitely worth the watch. 100% Netflix, you did a good job picking up this film. I'll say that. Russo bros, you did a good job as always. I mean, as far as I've seen, they have not missed. I'm maybe just a big fan of their whole flair and style. I really like what they did with this movie, and of course the acting inside of here. Chris Evans, Ryan Gosling, good job, boys. And yeah, man, so if you don't know what I do here on Demigod ENT, I do commentaries, reactions, and reviews. So if you're listening to that, in the right place, man, hit subscribe, hit the like button. I drop multiple videos a week on this channel, so you can expect out of me. And if you don't already know, I am the Demigod, the chosen one, here on Demigod ENT, and I'm out of this thing, man. I hope you all enjoyed this video, this review. I'll definitely catch y'all with more soon. Stay tuned. Peace.